The neon sign over the diner buzzed like it was tired. The parking lot was half full. The kind of place where people came late, ate fast, and left without talking to strangers. Dean Winchester parked the Impala a little too far from the door on purpose. He liked to see the whole room before he walked in. Sam followed him with a folder and a grim face. "The girl's name is Kara Mills," Sam said, low. 22. Missing 3 days. Last text was to her friend. "I did it. I made the deal." Dean's jaw tightened. Crossroads. They stepped inside. The smell hit first. Grease, coffee, old air. Then the sound. Silverware clinking, a cook yelling, a baby crying. And underneath it all, something wrong. Dean felt it like a cold hand on the back of his neck. A man in a booth near the window laughed too loud. His eyes were bright in a way that didn't fit his face. Across from him sat a woman with shaking hands, staring at a napkin like it had answers. Sam's eyes moved fast, taking it all in. Dean's hand drifted toward his jacket. He didn't pull the gun. Not yet. Then the lights flickered. A cough went through the room. A wet, ugly cough. A waitress leaned on the counter and wiped her mouth. When she lifted her hand, there was blood. Dean looked at Sam. Sam looked back. "This is not just a deal," Sam whispered. A man near the jukebox stood up, swaying. His skin looked gray, like it was losing color. He opened his mouth, and black smoke slipped out, thin at first, then thicker. People screamed. Chairs scraped. Someone knocked over a coffee cup. The baby cried harder. Dean shoved a woman behind him and yelled, "Everybody out! Now!" The black smoke rolled across the floor like it was looking for a door. A few people ran for the exits. Others froze in place, staring like their brains couldn't catch up. Sam threw a handful of salt in a line across the aisle. The smoke hit it and hissed, pulling back. But it didn't stop. It rose up. It shaped itself into something that looked like a man wearing the stolen body like a coat. The eyes were wrong. Too empty. Too pleased. "Winchesters," the thing said, smiling. "Did you miss me?" Dean lifted the gun this time. "Yeah, like a rash." The demon's grin widened. "This place has a lot of sinners. A lot of bargains. A lot of fear." He looked around like he owned the diner. "And I'm hungry." The woman in the booth with shaking hands stood up, crying. "I didn't mean I just wanted my brother to live." The demon turned his head toward her. "And he will, for a while. But you're mine." Sam's eyes flashed with anger. "Leave her alone." The demon laughed. "Or what? You'll shoot me? In front of all these people?" Dean's finger tightened on the trigger. Then the air changed. It wasn't just cold. It was heavy, like the room had filled with thick smoke you couldn't see. The lights dimmed, then flared bright. A sound came from outside. A motorcycle engine, but not like any normal bike Dean had ever heard. This one was deeper, meaner. It shook the glass in the windows. The demon's smile faltered for the first time. "What is—" It started. The front door blasted open without anyone touching it. Heat rolled in, fast and sharp. Not like a kitchen fire. Like the air itself had turned into a warning. A rider rolled into the diner on a black motorcycle that looked half real and half nightmare. The tires left faint burn marks on the tile. The metal parts glowed like they had been in a furnace. The rider wore a dark jacket, heavy boots, gloves that looked like they had seen too many fights. Then his head lifted. There was no face. There was a skull, white bone, empty eye sockets filled with fire. A few people screamed again, louder this time. Someone fainted. The cook dropped a pan. Dean's brain tried to name it. It couldn't. Sam couldn't breathe for a second. He felt the old fear in his chest, the fear of things that were too big to explain. The flaming skull turned toward the demon. The rider didn't speak. He didn't need to. The demon stepped back. "No," it said, the word sharp. "No, no, no." A chain whipped out from the rider's hand. It didn't fly like a normal chain. It snapped like it was alive. It wrapped the demon's chest and yanked him forward hard. The demon crashed into a table. Wood splintered. Plates shattered. Dean fired. The bullet should have hit. Dean was close. He never missed at this range. But the bullet slowed in the air like it hit thick mud. Then it melted. It dripped as glowing metal and hit the floor with a soft hiss. Dean stared. Stunned. The rider didn't even look at him. The demon tried to smoke out again. Black vapor poured from his mouth and skin. It rushed upward, aiming for the vents, the cracks, anywhere. The rider lifted his hand. Hellfire bloomed in his palm, bright orange with a blue edge. It wasn't normal flame. It didn't spread. It didn't flicker in the wind. It clung to the demon like a judgment. The demon screamed, not like a man, like something old and trapped. Sam saw the smoke get forced back into the body, like the fire was pulling it in, pinning it down. The rider leaned in close. The flames in his eyes flared. The demon's scream changed. It became smaller, thinner, like it was being squeezed. Then it stopped. The body went limp and dropped to the floor like a puppet with cut strings. The rider's chain unwrapped and snapped back into his hand. Clean, controlled. The diner was silent except for the baby crying and a man whimpering under a table. Dean held the gun up. His voice came out rough. "Hey, Skullface, we need to talk." The rider turned his head slowly. The fire inside him crackled. For a second, Dean felt like the thing was looking through his skin, through his bones, through every bad choice he had ever made. Dean forced himself not to flinch. Sam stepped forward, hands open. "We're not your enemy," Sam said. "We hunt demons too." The rider stared at him. Then the rider looked at the crying woman who had made the deal. The woman was on her knees now, shaking and begging without words. The rider didn't touch her. He just tilted his head, like he was listening to something inside her. Sam held his breath. Dean's finger stayed on the trigger. The rider turned away. He rode toward the door. The flames around his skull dimmed slightly, like he was putting a lid on a storm. As the bike crossed the threshold, fire licked the frame of the doorway but didn't catch. It left black marks like claw scratches. Outside, the engine roared once. Then he was gone. Dean ran out after him. The road was empty. No bike, no lights, no sound. Just a faint trail of heat in the air, and a symbol burned into the asphalt near the diner's entrance. A circle, a mark inside it that looked ancient and angry. Dean stared at it, feeling very small for the first time in a long time. Sam joined him, eyes wide. "What was that?" Dean asked. Sam swallowed. "I don't know. Somewhere far away, in a place humans could not see, something noticed the new fire, and it paid attention. Bobby Singer's house always smelled like old books, liquor, and oil. It was a comfort smell. It meant rules, research, and a plan. Dean walked in and tossed his keys into a bowl. "Tell me you've got an exorcism for flaming skeleton bikers." Bobby didn't look up from the table. He had newspapers spread out and a laptop that barely worked. "Tell me you ain't making up nonsense again." Sam dropped into a chair and started laying out facts like he was building a wall. Demon in a diner. Crossroads deal. Then a rider came in. He had a skull on fire. He used a chain. Our bullets didn't work. The demon couldn't escape his smoke. It died. Like, really died. Bobby finally looked up. His eyes narrowed. "Describe the fire." Dean leaned forward. "Not regular. It didn't spread. It stuck. Like it knew what it wanted." Bobby's mouth tightened. "That ain't right." Sam pulled out his phone and showed a picture he'd taken of the burned symbol on the road. It was shaky, but clear enough. Bobby stared at it for a long moment. "Where'd you get this?" "Outside the diner," Dean said, "right where Mr. Hot Topic rolled out." Bobby stood up and walked to his shelves. He started pulling books down, fast. Not frantic. Focused. Dean watched him. "So you know what it is?" Bobby grunted. "I know what it might be." Sam stood too. "Like what?" Bobby slapped a heavy book onto the table and opened it. "There are stories," he said. "Old ones. About spirits that punish wicked folks. Not angels. Not demons. Something else." Dean let out a dry laugh. "Great. Another something else." Bobby pointed at the symbol. "This looks like some kind of binding mark. A warning mark. Could be tied to vengeance work." Sam's eyes locked on the page. "A spirit of vengeance?" Bobby gave him a sharp look. "You been reading comics now?" Dean blinked. "Wait, like Ghost Rider? The flaming skull guy on the bike?" Sam glanced at Dean like he couldn't believe Dean said something useful. It's a name in pop culture. But the idea is older. A Punisher spirit. Dean spread his hands. Okay, so maybe the comics stole it from real stuff. Wouldn't be the first time. Bobby rubbed his forehead. Don't get cute. If that thing is real, and it's what I think it is, then it ain't gonna follow our rules. Sam's voice stayed calm, but his eyes were intense. It saved people. Dean shot back. It killed a demon in front of a room full of civilians. It melted my bullet in midair, and it looked at me like it knew everything I ever did. That's not a buddy. Bobby lifted a finger. Both of you, shut it. Dean shut it, but his foot kept bouncing. Sam leaned in. We need to find it. Dean's mouth twisted. Why? To invite it to poker night? To understand it, Sam said. If it's hunting demons, it will keep showing up at our cases. And if it makes mistakes, Dean cut in. And if it decides we're guilty? The word hung in the room. Bobby's face went hard. That's the fear, he said. A judge that don't answer to anyone. Sam's gaze dropped for a second, thinking. We didn't see it attack humans. It didn't hurt the woman who made the deal. Dean pointed at him. Yet. Before Sam could answer, the lights flickered in Bobby's living room. The air got colder. Not winter cold. Wrong cold. Bobby's head snapped up. Oh, son of a... A man appeared near the doorway like he stepped out of thin air. Trench coat. Tie. Messy dark hair. Serious eyes. Castiel looked around the room, then straight at Sam and Dean. I felt a disturbance, he said. Dean threw his hands up. Of course you did. Castiel's face stayed calm, but his eyes looked tired. This is not a joke, Dean. Sam stood, relieved and tense at the same time. We need your help. Castiel's gaze moved to the photo on the phone. His eyes narrowed. Show me. Sam held it up. Castiel stared at the symbol. For a moment, his expression cracked, like he was seeing something he didn't want to see. This is not angelic, Castiel said. Dean leaned forward. So it's demonic. Castiel shook his head slowly. No. Bobby crossed his arms. Then, what is it? Castiel's voice lowered. It is foreign. Dean frowned. Foreign like new monster foreign? Castiel looked at him. Foreign like it does not belong in this world. Sam felt his stomach drop. A different world? Castiel didn't answer right away. He looked toward the window, like he could sense the sky. There are doors between places, Castiel said. Most are locked. Some are guarded. If something powerful came through. Dean's eyes narrowed. You're saying it broke in. Castiel corrected him. Or it was pushed. Bobby muttered. Great. Now we got interdimensional flaming bikers. Castiel stepped closer to the table. If it is what you think, he said, looking at Sam, then it is bound to a purpose. Vengeance. Punishment. Dean's voice stayed sharp. And who decides who deserves it? Castiel's eyes shifted to Dean. It does. Silence again. Sam broke it. We need to talk to it, not fight it. Dean let out a short laugh. You talk. I'll stand behind you with the biggest gun I can find. Bobby pointed at Dean. And you'll keep your mouth shut for once. Dean looked offended. Hey. Bobby ignored him and looked at Castiel. Can you find it? Castiel hesitated. That alone scared Sam. It moves differently, Castiel said. It leaves heat and judgment. It does not leave the same traces as angels or demons. Dean leaned back. So we're blind. Sam's mind raced. Not blind. It's hunting. We can track what it hunts. Bobby's eyes narrowed. Demon deaths. Sam nodded. Real deaths. Bodies that don't get back up. Demons that don't smoke out. Dean's face tightened. Yeah, that'll leave a mess. Bobby gave him a look. You worried about the mess? Dean pointed toward the table. We hide bodies, Bobby. We burn bones. We clean up evidence. Now we've got a guy leaving burn marks on roads and inside diners. Our fake IDs are gonna catch fire. Castiel blinked. That is not how identification works. Dean stared at him. You've never tried to talk your way out of a cop's questions with a fake badge, have you? Castiel's face stayed blank. No, Bobby grunted. Focus. Sam's phone buzzed. He checked it. A hunter alert. Short and bad. 3 towns over. A family was found dead in their home. Burned from the inside out. No sign of accelerant. No sign of a demon trap. Just ash. Sam's blood went cold. That might be him. Dean grabbed his jacket. Or it might be whatever he's chasing. Castiel's eyes sharpened. Where? Sam named the town. Castiel nodded once. I will go first. Dean stopped him. No, you don't go alone. Castiel looked at Dean like Dean was missing the point. I can arrive instantly. Dean stepped closer. Yeah, and you can get caught instantly too if you walk into something you don't understand. We go together. Castiel didn't argue. That scared Sam even more. They moved fast. Dean drove like the road was an enemy. Sam sat with a book open, flipping pages, searching for anything that matched. Fire that judges. Bobby stayed behind, grumbling and digging deeper. As the Impala cut through the night, Sam kept thinking about that moment in the diner. The rider did not look wild. He looked focused, like this wasn't fun, like it was a job he could not quit. And something in Sam wondered, quietly, if the rider hated his job as much as Sam hated his. The house was small, plain, the kind of place where people tried to be normal. Now it was a crime scene. Police lights flashed blue and red across the street. A few neighbors stood behind tape, whispering. Dean parked a block away, like always. Remember, he said, we're FBI. Sam held up the fake badge without smiling. Right. Castiel watched them, confused. You are not, Dean said. Buddy, tonight? We are. They walked up, heads down, faces serious. Dean flashed the badge. Agents, we need to see the inside. The cop at the door looked tired and annoyed. This is local. Dean leaned in like he owned the air. Local doesn't cover this. Trust me. The cop hesitated, then waved them in. Don't touch anything. Dean muttered. Sure. Under his breath. Inside, the smell hit them. Not smoke. Burnt metal and something like hair. Something that made Sam's stomach twist. The living room was blackened, but the walls were not fully burned. It looked like the fire came from inside the bodies, not from outside. 3 bodies lay on the floor. A man, a woman, and a teen boy. Their faces were frozen in shock. Sam crouched near the teen. Careful. He saw a mark on the floor under the body. A faint circle, like a brand. Dean saw it too. His eyes narrowed. That's the same kind of mark as the diner. Castiel stepped closer. His hand hovered over the air. This is not hellfire from this world, he said softly. Sam's heart thudded. So it was him. Dean's jaw tightened. Or someone like him. A sound came from down the hallway. A low chain rattle. Dean snapped his gun up. Sam stood, fast, eyes wide. The hallway was dark. Too dark for a house with police outside. The lights in the hall flickered like they were afraid. Then the air warmed. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Not the skull. A man. Leather jacket. Dark hair. Face worn by too many nights. Eyes that looked like they had seen hell and kept walking anyway. He was holding a chain in one hand, loose like a leash. Dean's breath caught. You. The man's gaze moved over them, calm, sharp. He looked human now, but the heat around him said something else. Sam swallowed. Did you do this? The man looked down at the bodies. His jaw tightened. Pain flashed in his eyes for half a second. Then the mask came back. They were already dead, he said. His voice was low and rough. I came too late. Dean didn't lower the gun. And the burn marks? The man lifted his chain slightly. The thing that did this used a piece of my fire. Stole it. Copied it. Castiel took a step forward. Who are you? The man's eyes flicked to Castiel, like he could tell Castiel wasn't human. Not your enemy, he said. Not your friend. Dean barked a humorless laugh. That's helpful. Sam stepped slightly in front of Dean. People are dying. If something is stealing your power, we need to stop it. The man's gaze settled on Sam. You want to stop it, he said. Or you want to control it. Sam didn't blink. Stop it. A pause. Then the man's face tightened like he made a choice he didn't want to make. It's a demon, he said. But not like yours. Dean's eyes narrowed. That makes no sense. It made a deal, the man said. But it didn't want money. It didn't want years. It wanted a spark, a piece of judgment. Sam felt cold. It made a deal with you? The man's eyes flashed with anger. I don't make deals anymore. Dean's voice sharpened. Then how did it take your fire? The man's jaw clenched. It used someone else's deal. A crossroads. Your kind of demon. It used that door to reach me, just enough to steal a piece. Castiel's face tightened. This is a breach. Dean looked at Sam. Told you. Bigger problem. Sam's mind spun. A demon that could steal part of that fire. A demon clever enough to weaponize it. That meant it wouldn't just kill. It would make a point. The man looked toward the back door like he could sense a trail. It's moving, he said. It's headed toward a crowded place. It wants witnesses. Dean's grip tightened. Like a show. The man nodded once. A message. Sam's voice stayed steady. Where? The man's eyes darkened. The highway. There's a bridge. A choke point. Easy panic. Easy guilt. Dean swore under his breath. Of course. Castiel stepped forward. We should leave now. Dean pointed at the man. And what about him? The man's gaze turned colder. I'm going. Dean snorted. Yeah? On your bike? The man's mouth twitched like he almost smiled. Then didn't. You won't keep up. Dean's pride flared. Watch me. Sam shot Dean a look. Dean ignored it. They moved. Fast. Outside, the police didn't see the man leave. They blinked, and he was gone down the street like shadow. Dean and Sam rushed to the Impala. Castiel appeared in the back seat with a soft rustle of air, like always. Dean slammed the door. Okay, he said, gripping the wheel. New rule. If the flaming biker shows up, nobody shoots first. Sam glanced at him. That's a change. Dean's eyes stayed on the road. Don't get used to it. They hit the highway with the sirens far behind them. And up ahead, on the dark road, the faint orange glow of fire lit the underside of the clouds. Dean's stomach dropped. Because the glow was not just a bike. It was a crash. Cars were stopped. Horns blared. People yelled and ran along the shoulder. A semi-truck had jackknifed near the bridge entrance, blocking lanes. Smoke poured from the engine. Not normal smoke. Black and thick. Like the diner. Demon, Sam said. Dean didn't answer. His eyes locked on the bridge. And then Sam saw it. On the top of the semi-truck's trailer, standing like it owned the world, was a man with demon eyes glowing bright. But there was fire around him too. A thin layer of orange-blue flame that clung to his skin like armor. He raised his hands. Cars behind the crash started to shake, like something was pushing them from the inside. Drivers screamed as steering wheels yanked sideways. It's using fear, Sam said, voice tight. It's causing wrecks. Dean slammed the brakes and pulled onto the shoulder. Okay, showtime. Castiel vanished with a flicker, going straight toward the demon. Sam jumped out and ran toward the crowd, shouting for people to move away from the bridge. Dean followed, gun drawn, eyes scanning. The demon on the trailer laughed. The sound carried over engines and screams. Look! The demon yelled, voice booming. Look at what I can do now! Castiel appeared in front of the demon in a blur. He grabbed the demon by the collar and slammed him down onto the metal trailer. You are corrupting a power that does not belong to you, Castiel said, voice like steel. The demon's grin widened. Angel, it purred. I don't need your permission. Fire exploded out from the demon's chest. Castiel flew back like he'd been hit by a cannon. He smashed into the guardrail near the bridge, denting it. Dean stared, shocked. Castiel didn't get tossed like that by regular demons. Sam's fear spiked. Dean? Dean was already moving. He fired at the demon. Iron rounds, then salt. Then a devil's trap bullet Bobby once made for a special case. The demon lifted one hand. The bullet slowed. Not melting this time. They stopped in midair, shaking like they were trapped in thick glue. Then they dropped to the ground like dead flies. Dean's eyes widened. Okay, that's new. The demon looked down at the crowd of trapped cars and smiling people panicking in their seats. Your world is full of sinners, it said, voice full of delight. And now I have a fire that can judge them. Sam reached for his knife. We need to exorcise it. Dean barked. In the middle of a bridge pileup? The demon raised both hands. A line of orange-blue fire ran along the bridge surface like a fuse. It didn't burn the concrete. It burned something deeper. The air shook. Sam saw a minivan at the edge of the bridge start to slide toward the railing, like invisible hands were pushing it. Inside the minivan, a little kid pressed his face to the window, crying. Sam's chest tightened. He ran toward it without thinking. Dean shouted, Sam! Sam didn't stop. The van slid closer to the edge. The parents inside screamed and tried to steer, but the wheel spun uselessly. Sam grabbed the side door handle and pulled with everything he had. The van was heavy. He couldn't stop it. Then a chain snapped across the road like a whip. It wrapped the van's back axle and yanked it hard, stopping the slide in one brutal jerk. Sam stumbled back, breathless. Heat washed over him. He turned. The biker was there now, but not as a man. The skull was back, flames bright and steady. The bike stood behind him like a warhorse made of metal and fire. The rider looked up at the demon on the trailer. The demon's grin twitched. "No!" it said again, like the word could stop what was coming. The rider didn't speak. He took one step forward. The bridge shook, just a little, like the world knew something powerful had arrived. Dean felt it in his teeth. The rider's chain moved again, faster than Dean could track. It shot upward, wrapped the demon's ankle, and yanked. The demon flew off the trailer and hit the road with a hard crack that would have broken a human into pieces. The demon tried to rise. The rider grabbed the chain with both hands and dragged the demon across the asphalt like it weighed nothing. Sparks flew. The demon screamed, angry now, not playful. "You can't judge me," it spat. "You're not from here." The rider leaned in close. The flames in his skull flared brighter. Dean watched from behind a wrecked car, gun forgotten for a second. He had seen monsters. He had seen angels. He had seen hell. This was different. This wasn't just power. This was a decision made into a weapon. The rider's hand clamped onto the demon's throat. Hellfire flooded the demon's body. The demon thrashed and tried to smoke out. Smoke poured from his mouth and eyes, but the fire forced it back again, pinning it inside. Castiel stumbled to his feet near the guardrail, eyes glowing faintly with anger. He started toward them. Then the demon did something smart. It looked past the rider, straight at Sam. It smiled through the pain, and it snapped its fingers. A shockwave of stolen hellfire burst out, not at the rider, but at the cars full of people. Orange-blue flame flashed into the windows, seeking guilt like it was a scent. Sam's blood turned to ice, because he saw it right away. Some of the drivers had done bad things. Not demon-level bad, human bad, petty, ugly, secret bad. And the fire did not care about petty. It cared about guilty. "Hey!" Sam shouted, running forward. "Stop!" Dean moved too, yelling at people to get out, to run, to duck. But the lanes were jammed. Doors were blocked by other cars. Panic made it worse. Castiel lifted his hands and tried to smite the flame. Light flared. The stolen fire bent around it like water around a rock. The rider's skull turned, slow, toward the trapped civilians. For the first time since he arrived, he hesitated. Dean saw it. Just a beat. Not weakness. Choice. The spirit of vengeance wanted to burn guilt. The man inside it did not want to burn a scared parent who once stole groceries 5 years ago. The demon laughed, choking. "See? You can't do it. Not clean. Not here." Sam's voice shook with anger and fear. "You have to stop it." The rider released the demon and stood up. He lifted both hands. The flames on his skull surged. Then the fire changed. It didn't spread outward like a bomb. It pulled inward, like the rider was sucking the stolen flame back toward himself, forcing it to obey. The orange-blue fire peeled away from the cars in thin streams, like threads being yanked back into a fist. People gasped. Some cried. Some collapsed, shaking. The demon's eyes widened. "No!" The rider's chain snapped out again and wrapped the demon's arms tight behind his back. The rider stepped close. He put his flaming hand on the demon's chest. The demon screamed as the stolen fire was ripped out of him, torn away like a parasite being removed. The demon's skin went dull. The thin flame armor vanished. Now it was just a demon again, but it was on its knees in front of something far worse than a hunter with a knife. Dean's mind screamed, "Do it now. Exorcise it. Kill it." Sam moved too, pulling the exorcism words up from memory like a lifeline. Then the demon's grin returned, small and mean, because it still had one last card. It turned its head toward Dean. "You want to know how I did it?" it whispered, voice raw. "Ask the king." Dean froze. "What?" The demon's eyes glittered. "Crowley knows. Crowley watched. Crowley wants him. The rider's skull tilted slightly, like the name meant something in the air. Then the rider's flames flared once, sharp. The demon burst into fire, and ash under her hand were gone. No smoke escape, no last-second body jump, just gone. The bridge went quiet, except for sirens coming closer, and people crying in shock. Dean stared at the spot where the demon had been. Sam let out a breath like he'd been holding it for years. Castiel stepped forward, looking at the rider with guarded focus. "You prevented collateral damage," he said. The rider didn't answer. His skull turned toward Dean now. Dean's stomach tightened again. He hated being looked at like that. The rider took a step closer. Dean lifted his gun out of habit, then stopped himself. The rider's fire did not brighten. It did not lash out. It just watched. And in that moment, Dean knew two things at once. First, this thing could end him if it wanted. Second, it was choosing not to. The rider turned away, walking toward his bike. Dean called out, voice rough, "Hey, we need to talk about Crowley." The rider paused. He didn't look back, but the chain in his hand tightened, like a leash pulled short. Then he mounted the bike. The engine roared, and heat rolled across the road. He rode straight through a gap that didn't exist a second ago, leaving a strip of scorched asphalt that made Dean wince. "Evidence," Dean muttered, almost by habit. "Always with the evidence." Sam looked at him, eyes wide. "Dean," Dean swallowed. "Yeah." Castiel watched the fading trail of heat in the air. His face was serious. "He is not controlled," Castiel said. Dean stared down the road. "No kidding." Sam's voice went quiet, heavy, and Crowley wants him. Dean's jaw clenched. "Then we've got a problem. Far away, in a place where deals were currency and souls were numbers, a demon with a neat suit and a sharp smile held a glass of whiskey and listened to a report." Crowley's eyes gleamed. "A flaming judge," he murmured. "In my backyard." He took a slow sip. "Now that," Crowley said softly, "is worth a proper welcome." Dean hated bridges even on a good day. Too many ways for something to go wrong. Too many ways for people to die. Now the bridge was a line of wrecked cars, bent metal, and crying strangers. Sirens screamed closer and closer. Smoke crawled up into the night sky in ugly black ribbons. Dean jogged between cars, shouting for people to move. He pulled a door open for a woman whose hands were shaking so hard she couldn't find the handle. He waved a man away from a leaking fuel line. He did what he always did after the monsters showed their faces. He cleaned up the human part. Sam was a few steps ahead, helping a dad carry a little girl with a cut on her forehead. The kid was crying and calling for her mom. Sam kept his voice calm and soft, like he was trying to put a blanket over panic. Castiel stood near the guardrail, still and tense. His trench coat was torn at the shoulder where he hit the metal. He wasn't bleeding, but his face looked tight, like the impact had rattled something deeper. Dean kept looking down the road for a trail of flame. There was nothing now. No bike, no skull, just burn marks on asphalt and a smell like heat after lightning. And there was the worst part. Dean could already see the questions forming on the faces of the cops and the EMTs. What caused this? Why are there scorch lines on the bridge? Why did the bodies look like they were cooked from the inside? Dean pulled out the fake badge like it was a shield. A state trooper rushed up, eyes wild. "Who the hell are you?" Dean flashed the badge fast. "FBI." The trooper blinked. "Since when is the FBI on traffic accidents?" Dean didn't miss a beat. "Since the crash pattern matches a case we're tracking. We'll take it from here." The trooper looked like he wanted to argue. Then he looked at the burned patches on the road, at the blackened semi-trailer, and at the people shaking in shock. He swallowed. "Fine, but you explain this." Dean forced a tight smile. "Oh, we will." The trooper walked off, still confused. Dean muttered, "We're going to run out of fake agencies." Sam came back, breathing hard. "That minivan, if he hadn't stopped it." Dean cut him off, sharp. "I saw." Sam's eyes were wide. He pulled the fire out of the demon, like he was taking back stolen property. Dean glanced at Castiel. "CAs, you okay?" Castiel's gaze stayed fixed on the scorched road. "I am functional." Dean heard the words and didn't like them. Sam wiped sweat from his brow. "The demon said Crowley did this." Dean's mouth twisted. "Yeah, Crowley, king of hell. The guy who turns evil into a business plan. Castiel finally looked at them. Crowley will not ignore this. Dean snorted. No kidding. Sam's eyes moved over the crowd. People almost got burned alive because they were guilty. Dean's jaw tightened. That's the thing. How does he decide? Sam's voice dropped. He didn't burn them. He stopped it. Dean stared down the road again. He stopped it because it was stolen fire, not because he suddenly joined the Save the Innocent club. Sam didn't answer, but the look on his face said he didn't want to believe Dean was right. They heard footsteps behind them. A paramedic ran up with a clipboard. Agent? Dean stepped forward. Yeah, we need names for our report, the paramedic said. Witness statements. And we need to know what chemical caused the burns. Dean stared at the clipboard like it was an enemy. It's classified. The paramedic's eyes narrowed. That's not an answer. Dean leaned in, voice low. Listen, people are alive because we're here. Let us do our job. The paramedic looked at him, looked at Sam, and then looked at Castiel, like Castiel was a statue that forgot to breathe. The paramedic backed away slowly. Okay, sure, FBI. As soon as the guy left, Dean hissed. We can't keep doing this. The burn marks, the melted bullets, Sam said, we don't have a choice. Not if we want people to live. Dean stared at Sam. We have to keep our heads on straight. If that thing decides we're next, we don't get a do-over. Castiel spoke, quiet but firm. He is not acting randomly. Dean shot him a look. That's supposed to make me feel better. Castiel's eyes didn't blink. No, it is supposed to make you careful. Dean's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Dean answered anyway. Yeah. A smooth voice slid through the speaker like it owned the line. Dean Winchester. Dean froze. Sam's head snapped toward him. Dean's face hardened. Crowley. Sam mouthed, What? Dean held up a finger to Sam. How did you get this number? Crowley gave a soft laugh. Oh, darling, it's not hard to find you when you keep waving fake badges at my people. Dean's hand tightened around the phone. If you're behind what happened on that bridge, I swear. Crowley sighed like Dean was being dramatic. Behind it? No. But am I interested? Very. Sam leaned closer, trying to listen. Crowley's voice stayed light, but Dean heard the edge under it. You met my little problem. The flaming one. The one who makes demons disappear. Dean's eyes narrowed. He's not yours. Crowley chuckled. That's the issue. Dean glanced at the road again, at the scorch marks. What do you want, Crowley? I want to talk, Crowley said. In person. Civilized. Like businessmen. Dean barked a harsh laugh. We're not businessmen. You are, Crowley said sweetly. You trade blood and risk for results. You're just too moral to admit it. Sam whispered. Dean, don't. Dean walked a few steps away from Sam, so Crowley wouldn't hear everything. No deals. Crowley tutted. I'm not offering a deal. I'm offering information. And a warning. Dean's stomach tightened. About what? Crowley's voice dropped. If you don't get ahead of this, someone else will. Someone in heaven. Someone in hell. Someone far older than both. That rider. Dean's skin crawled at the word. Crowley continued. Is a weapon that doesn't know who holds the handle. Yet. Dean forced his voice steady. Where are you? Crowley gave him an address, like it was no big thing. A bar in a nearby city. A place Dean knew had back rooms and bad lighting. Come alone, Crowley said. Dean smiled without humor. No. Crowley sounded amused. Bring your pet angel if you must, but don't bring the flaming judge. I'd like to keep my head attached, thank you. The call ended. Dean stared at the phone for a second like it might burn him. Sam walked up, face tight. He wants a meeting. Dean nodded once. Yeah. Castiel stepped closer. This is manipulation. Dean didn't deny it. It's also a lead. Sam's voice was quiet. Crowley said rider, like he knows what it is. Dean looked at the bridge again, at the people still crying. Then we find out what Crowley knows, and we do it before Crowley puts his hands on him. Sam swallowed. Or before heaven does. Castiel's eyes darkened. Heaven will not tolerate an uncontrolled force. Dean grunted. Story of our lives. As they walked back to the Impala, Dean saw a little boy standing near the edge of the road, staring at the burned asphalt. The boy looked up at Dean and asked, Was it a superhero? Dean's throat tightened. He forced a shrug. No, kid. Just something. The boy frowned. It saved people. Dean didn't answer, because saving people wasn't the only thing it did. And Dean couldn't stop hearing the demon's last laugh in his head. Ask the king. Crowley did not like surprises. He especially did not like surprises that set his demons on fire in a way that did not let them crawl back into hell. He sat in a private room in the back of a bar. The place smelled like cheap beer and old wood. The music outside was too loud, the kind of loud meant to stop people from hearing what mattered. Crowley sat like he belonged there more than anyone. A demon stood across from him, eyes black, hands folded. The reports are consistent, the demon said. He appears, he kills, he leaves. Crowley sipped whiskey. Marvelous. The demon hesitated. Some of our people are refusing to go near him. Crowley's smile was thin. Then remind them what fear feels like when it comes from me. The demon swallowed. Yes, sire. Crowley leaned back. His suit was perfect. That annoyed him a little, because he had a feeling things were about to get messy. Tell me, Crowley said, casual. How does it look when he burns them? The demon shivered. Like judgment. Crowley's eyes gleamed. Oh, I do love a theme. He had seen a lot in hell. He had seen monsters, witches, angels falling like meteors. He had even seen humans do things that made demons look polite. But this was a foreign fire, and foreign fire meant foreign rules. Crowley did not like rules he did not write. He set the glass down. Get me everything, he said. Every burned symbol, every witness, every camera feed, every hunter rumor. I want a name, a history, and a weakness. The demon nodded. We can't get close enough. Crowley's smile returned, smooth and sharp. Then don't get close. Send someone who knows how to speak. The demon's eyes widened. You want negotiation? Crowley rolled his eyes. I want assessment. There's a difference. He leaned forward. And I want the Winchesters in the middle, because they'll run toward danger for free. The demon looked uneasy. If this rider kills you. Crowley's gaze snapped cold. He won't. Not yet. The demon lowered his head. Yes, sire. When the demon left, Crowley sat alone with his thoughts. He imagined hell as a machine. Deals were gears. Souls were fuel. Fear was oil. When the machine ran smoothly, Crowley could relax. The rider was not a gear. He was a hammer. Crowley hated hammers, but he also understood their value. If Crowley could aim that hammer, he could smash every rival who thought they could challenge him. He could clean the streets of hell the way angels pretended they wanted to. And if he couldn't aim it, then the hammer might come down on Crowley's own head. Crowley's smile faded. No, he muttered. Not happening. He lifted his glass again. Welcome to my world, you flaming bastard. The man on the bike did not sleep. Not like humans slept. He stopped sometimes. He sat on broken steps outside old churches. He watched empty highways from rooftops. He listened to the night like it was speaking. The spirit inside him did not get tired. It did not get bored. It did not forgive. But the man did. He rode to a crossroads outside a small town. 2 roads cut through a field like scars. The air smelled like dirt and cold grass. He stepped off the bike and walked into the center of the crossroads. He could feel it. Old deals. Old blood. Old desperation. He didn't need a book to tell him. He could taste it in the air. A crow cawed somewhere far away. He stood still and let his mind do what it did best. He listened for guilt. Not the small kind that lived in every human. Not the kind that came from mistakes and regret. The heavy kind. The kind that people tried to bury. He felt it like a pulse. Faint at first, then stronger. A man, 2 miles away, in a farmhouse. The man had been hurting his family. Lying, drinking, hitting. He had made a deal once, long ago, to keep his secrets hidden. The spirit inside the rider pushed forward. Punish. The rider's hands clenched. He didn't argue with the spirit. He rarely did. But tonight, his thoughts kept flashing back to the bridge, to the fire trying to crawl into cars full of people, to that small pause inside him, to the truth he hated. This world had different lines. In his world, the guilty were usually clear. Monsters, killers, abusers, Demons. The fire knew them like it knew oxygen. Here, guilt was everywhere. Deals were everywhere. And the people who made them weren't always cruel. Sometimes they were just broken. He closed his eyes. He saw the woman in the diner again, crying over her brother. He heard her voice. "I didn't mean." He opened his eyes. He walked to the bike and grabbed the chain from the handlebar. He wrapped it once around his wrist. Grounding. Control. Then he rode toward the farmhouse. He would do what he always did, but he would do it clean. When he arrived, he didn't crash through walls. He didn't make a show. He walked up to the front door. The man inside opened it with a confused frown. "Who the hell are you?" the man asked. The rider looked at him. His eyes were human right now. Dark. Heavy. The man scoffed. "You lost." The rider said, "Let them go." The man's face twisted. "What?" The rider stepped forward. The air warmed. Not enough to burn. Enough to warn. The man's eyes widened. Not understanding yet, but sensing danger. "Let them go," the rider repeated. "Now." The man's mouth opened to shout. Then the rider's head tilted slightly, like he heard a scream that wasn't loud. A child. In a back room, trying not to breathe so the dad wouldn't notice. The rider's jaw tightened. The spirit surged. Flame rippled under his skin like something waking up. The man stumbled back. "What are you?" The rider took one step into the house. The man swung a fist. The rider caught it. Easy, like catching a thrown ball. The man's eyes went wide with fear. "Please," the man whispered, suddenly realizing how small he was. The rider's voice dropped to something rough and final. "You had your chances." The man tried to pull away. The chain snapped out and wrapped the man's wrist in one fast loop. The rider didn't set him on fire. Not yet. He walked past him and kicked open the back bedroom door. A woman and two kids huddled on the floor, faces bruised and wet with tears. They flinched like a gun went off. The rider crouched slightly, keeping his voice low. "Go," he said. The woman stared at him, terrified. "What are you?" He didn't answer. He pointed toward the back window. "Now." They ran. The rider stood up and turned back to the man. The man was crying. "I didn't mean it. I'm trying. The rider's head lifted. His face changed. Skull. Fire. The man screamed. The spirit of vengeance did not care about excuses. The rider looked into the man's eyes and let the truth rise to the surface. Every hit, every threat, every time the man chose control over love. The flames in the rider's eyes burned brighter. The man's scream became a sob, then a whisper, then nothing. When the rider turned away, the man collapsed on the floor, alive but broken inside, like his worst self had been dragged into the light and left there. The rider walked out without looking back. He rode into the night again, and even as he moved, he could feel something else. Not guilt. Attention. Eyes on him. Old eyes. Hungry eyes. He didn't know their names in this world, but he knew what they felt like. Something wanted to use him. He gripped the chain tighter. Let them try. Sam did not like secrets. Secrets were what got people killed. He sat at the bunker table with books stacked around him. Old demon lore. Man of letters files. A notebook full of scribbled symbols and arrows. Dean paced. He always paced when he couldn't punch something. "Crowley's in a bar," Dean said for the third time. "He wants to talk. That means he wants to win." Sam didn't look up. "That's not new." Dean waved at the pages. "And you're doing the thing again." Sam glanced up. "The thing?" Dean pointed at the books. "When you think knowledge is going to solve a problem that can punch through a bridge." Sam's eyes sharpened. "Knowledge is why we're alive." Dean stopped pacing, just for a moment. "And a plan is why we stay alive. The rider isn't just strong, he's different." Sam nodded slowly. "I know." He tapped one page. "Look at the burn patterns. They don't match demon fire, and Castiel says it's not from this world." Dean rubbed his face. "I hate when he says that." Sam flipped a page and pulled out a printed image from a security camera at a gas station. It showed a man in a leather jacket standing near a black bike. The image was grainy, but the posture was clear. The weight of someone used to pain. Dean leaned in. "That's him." Sam nodded. "Human form. Before the skull." Dean squinted. "Can we zoom in?" Sam shook his head. "It's already trash quality. But I did something else." Dean waited. Sam slid a second paper across the table. A newspaper clipping, old, yellowed. The headline read, "Stunt Rider Survives Impossible Fire." A photo showed a younger man smiling with a helmet under his arm. The name printed below the photo was clear. Johnny Blaze. Dean blinked. "You're kidding." Sam didn't smile. "I'm not. Look at the date. Look at the location. It's not here." Dean stared at the name like it was a joke that became real. "So he has a name." Sam nodded. "And a history. In a different world. A stunt rider. Known for taking dangerous jumps. Fires. Explosions. Things he shouldn't survive." Dean's voice went tight. "How does that become a flaming skull judge?" Sam's eyes didn't leave the page. "A deal," he said. "A curse. Something like a binding." Dean's jaw clenched. Crossroads demons didn't invent deals. They just sell them? Sam looked up, fear and curiosity mixed. If he made a deal in his world, and then got pulled here through ours, that means the Crossroads network is more connected than we thought. Dean's phone buzzed again. "Same number." Dean answered with a glare. "Yeah?" Crowley sounded pleased. "I do hope you're doing your homework." Dean glanced at Sam's papers. "You're enjoying this." Crowley sighed. "Dean, I enjoy very few things. This is one of them." Dean's voice turned hard. "Tell me what you know about him." Crowley paused, like he wanted Dean to beg. Dean didn't. Crowley finally spoke. "He is not angel. He is not demon. He is a punishment with legs." Sam leaned close again, listening. Crowley continued. "And he is starting to interfere with my supply lines." Dean narrowed his eyes. "Your supply lines." Crowley made a soft, offended sound. "My deals. My contracts. My leverage. You do understand how hell works, don't you?" Dean's mouth twisted. "Yeah, like a scam." Crowley chuckled. "Precisely. And now a flaming lunatic is burning the receipts." Sam's eyes widened. He mouthed, "Contracts." Dean held the phone closer. "You want to stop him." Crowley's voice went smooth. "I want to contain him, guide him, use him properly." Dean felt his skin crawl. "Over my dead body." Crowley laughed lightly. "That can be arranged." Dean's grip tightened. "Crowley." Crowley's tone shifted, just a little more serious. "Listen carefully. You think you're the only ones who noticed him? Heaven noticed. Reapers noticed. Things you don't even have names for noticed." Dean's eyes flicked to Castiel, who stood in the shadows near the hallway, silent. Crowley went on. "You want to keep him from turning his fire on the wrong people? Then you'd better understand what makes him tick." Dean's voice was low. "And you do?" Crowley hummed. "Enough." Sam whispered. "Ask him about the stolen fire." Dean spoke into the phone. "The demon on the bridge stole his fire." "How?" Crowley's laugh died. "Ah," he said softly. "So you saw that." Dean waited. Crowley's voice turned careful. "Crossroads are doors. Doors can be picked. That demon found a crack that led somewhere it shouldn't. Somewhere hot." Dean's spine went cold. "You did this on purpose." Crowley snapped. "Don't flatter yourself. I didn't plan for a foreign spirit of vengeance to come roaring into my yard, but I did learn from the mistake." Dean's eyes narrowed. "So now you want to learn more?" Crowley sounded almost cheerful again. "Yes." Dean's jaw clenched. "We're not helping you." Crowley sighed. "Then you'll be helping someone else. An angel faction. A reaper. Or him." Dean felt the trap closing from every side. Crowley gave the bar address again, like a reminder. "Come. Talk. Bring the angel if you must, but leave the guns. They're embarrassing." Dean's voice went flat. "We'll be there." Crowley sounded satisfied. "Excellent." The call ended. Dean stared at the phone like it might insult him. Sam exhaled slowly. "He wants the contract network." Dean said. "He wants a leash." Castiel finally stepped forward. "Crowley is afraid." Dean snorted. "Good." Castiel's eyes stayed serious. Fear makes him strategic. He will not rush blindly. Sam looked at Castiel. "You said Heaven will move too." Castiel nodded. "If Heaven believes the rider's judgment could disrupt the balance, they will attempt containment." Dean rubbed his temples. "Okay, so we've got Hell and Heaven and a flaming skullbiker into the middle. Great." Sam's voice softened. "We need to talk to Johnny." Dean's eyes snapped to him. "You're calling him Johnny now?" Sam held up the newspaper clipping. "It's a name. Dean's voice was sharp, but not cruel. A name doesn't make him safe. Sam didn't argue. No, he said, but it makes him human. Part of him. Dean looked away, conflicted. He didn't like admitting Sam might be right. Castiel said, "If you approach him, do it carefully." Dean gave Castiel a look. Carefully is our middle name. Castiel blinked. It is not. Dean rolled his eyes. You know what I mean. Sam gathered the papers and the clipping. We'll go to Crowley. We'll get info. Then we find Johnny before someone else does. Dean grabbed his jacket. And we don't let Crowley make the first move. Sam stood. Agreed. As they walked out, Dean muttered, "Also, we need new fake badges. The current ones are cursed at this point." Sam almost smiled. Almost. The bar was the kind of place that pretended it was clean. The floor was sticky anyway. The lights were too dim. The smiles were too fake. Dean walked in like he owned it because that was the only way he knew how to walk into a trap. Sam stayed half a step behind him, eyes scanning. Castiel entered last, looking like he belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. Crowley sat in a booth in the back, one leg crossed over the other, glass in hand. He waved like they were old friends. Dean slid into the seat across from him. "Don't." Crowley smiled. "Don't what? Drink? Speak? Breathe?" Dean leaned forward. "Don't act like this is friendly." Crowley sighed. "Fine. Business then." Sam sat beside Dean. "Tell us what you know about the writer." Crowley's eyes flicked to Sam, amused. Straight to the point. "That's why I like you, Moose." Dean's glare sharpened. "Don't call him that." Crowley ignored him. "What do I know? He burns demons. He terrifies my employees. He leaves behind marks that make my accountants cry." Sam's voice stayed calm. How did the demon steal his fire? Crowley tapped the rim of his glass. "Crossroads are more than dirt and dead grass," he said. "They are thin places, places where worlds can brush. Most of the time, the brush is harmless." Dean cut in, and sometimes a demon picks the lock. Crowley's smile was thin. Exactly. That demon used a deal as a hook. It reached through a crack and pulled back. A spark. Sam's eyes narrowed. A spark of judgment. Crowley's gaze lingered on Sam for a moment. "You're a fast learner." Castiel leaned forward. "Why has heaven not closed these cracks?" Crowley scoffed. "Because heaven is incompetent, or because heaven likes having doors when it suits them." Castiel's jaw tightened. Dean didn't care about the insult. "Where is he now?" Crowley spread his hands. "If I knew, he'd already be sitting right here, and we'd be having a much more exciting conversation." Sam watched Crowley's face closely. "You're lying." Crowley placed a hand on his chest like he was hurt. "I am offended." Dean snorted. "Good." Crowley's eyes turned colder for a second. "Listen to me. You think this is just a weird new hunter ally? It's not. He is a foreign court of law that walks on two wheels." Sam's voice was firm. "He saved civilians." Crowley nodded. "Yes." And he also looked at a line of terrified humans and had to decide whether guilt equals death. That is a problem. Dean's stomach tightened. Crowley was right about one thing. That choice could go bad fast. Crowley leaned in, voice smooth. "So here is my offer. Not a deal. An arrangement." Dean's eyes narrowed. "No." Crowley kept talking anyway. "Help me locate him. I will give you the names of every Crossroads demon operating in your region. Every contract hub. Every deal broker." Sam's breath caught. That kind of information could save lives. Dean's face stayed hard. "And what do you get?" Crowley smiled. "A conversation. A chance to persuade him. A chance to, how do humans say it, put him to work." Sam shook his head. "He won't." Crowley's eyes gleamed. "Won't he?" Dean's voice went low. "If you touch him, he will burn you." Crowley shrugged. "Maybe. But I'm willing to take risks for profit." Dean's fist tightened. "You're insane." Crowley lifted his glass. "I'm hell." Castiel's eyes brightened faintly, a warning light. "If you attempt to control him, you will create chaos." Crowley smiled at Castiel like a cat. "Chaos is already here, Angel. I'm simply trying to shape it." Dean's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Crowley. It was Bobby. Dean answered. "Yeah." Bobby's voice came through rough and urgent. "You boys need to get back, now." Dean's stomach tightened. "Why?" Bobby spat the words out. Because hunters are talking, and one of them just went after your flaming biker with a holy water cannon like it's a damn parade float. Sam's eyes widened. What? Bobby went on. And the biker didn't kill him. He just stared at him. Then the hunter started screaming and begging. I don't know what the hell the biker did, but it messed that guy up. Dean closed his eyes. Where? Bobby gave the location. An abandoned road outside a town not far from them. Sam looked at Dean, alarmed. We have to go. Dean hung up and stood fast. Crowley lifted an eyebrow. Leaving so soon? Dean leaned over the table, voice like a blade. You're not coming. Crowley smiled. Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. Dean didn't believe him for a second. They left the bar and moved to the Impala. Castiel spoke once they were outside. Crowley will follow. Dean slammed the car door. Let him try. Sam slid into the passenger seat, flipping through his notes as if he could force answers out of paper. If hunters start chasing Johnny, this gets worse. Dean started the engine. Yeah. Sam's voice dropped. He hasn't killed humans. Not yet. Dean drove. Not yet. The road stretched ahead. Cold, dark, empty. Dean kept thinking about that pause the rider had on the bridge. If the spirit inside him had won that moment, Dean might have watched a dozen people burn because they had done something wrong once. And that scared Dean more than any demon did, because demons didn't pretend to be justice. They found the hunter's truck first, parked crooked on the shoulder, doors open, holy water bottles scattered on the ground like someone dropped them while running. Sam stepped out, tense. This is bad. Dean checked the ground. Tire marks, but not from a normal bike. Deep lines like the road itself had been scratched. Castiel's head tilted slightly. He was here. Dean nodded. No kidding. They followed the tracks into the trees. It wasn't far. They found the hunter kneeling in a clearing, shaking. His face was wet with tears. His hands were pressed to his head, like he was trying to hold himself together. Dean crouched a few feet away. Careful. Hey, he said. You alive? The hunter looked up. His eyes were wide and empty at the same time. He saw me, the hunter whispered. Sam stepped closer. Who did? The rider? The hunter nodded fast. He looked at me and his voice broke. And I saw it. I saw everything. Dean's stomach dropped. The penance. He stopped. He didn't want to say a name he didn't understand. Sam whispered, What did you see? The hunter's lips trembled. My first hunt, he said. I shot a kid. He was possessed. I thought I had to. I didn't even try to save him. He swallowed, choking. And then every time after that, every time I chose easy, every time I chose anger, Dean's jaw tightened. He had met hunters like this. Hunters who called themselves good because they killed monsters, but they didn't always stop to ask what they were becoming. Sam's voice softened. Did he hurt you? The hunter shook his head. No, he whispered. He left, like he decided I wasn't. Enough. Dean felt cold. Enough for what? The hunter's eyes darted to Dean like he didn't want to say it. Enough to burn, he whispered. Sam's breath caught. Dean stood up slowly. His mind went to one place. What would he see in me? He didn't ask it out loud. Castiel looked around the clearing. He is moving, Castiel said. Sam's voice tightened. How do you know? Castiel's eyes stayed focused on something none of them could see. The pattern of deaths is changing. Dean's head snapped up. What do you mean? Castiel said, Demons are dying in clusters. Not random. Directed. Sam's mind clicked into place. He's hunting something bigger. Dean's hands clenched. Or he's hunting the source. Sam looked at him. The Crossroads Network. Dean swallowed. Yeah. Sam pulled out the clipping again, staring at the name like it was the key. Johnny Blaze, he whispered. Dean glanced at Sam. You think he'll tell us? Sam's eyes were steady. He told us something already. He said the demon used our crossroads to steal from him. He's here because our system touched his. Dean's face hardened. Then we stopped the system from touching him again, Castiel said quietly. Someone else is touching him now. Dean turned. Who? Castiel's gaze lifted toward the sky, but it wasn't the sky he was looking at. A presence, he said. Old. Persuasive. Sam's throat went dry. Lucifer? Castiel didn't answer. That was answer enough. Dean looked at Sam. We find him first. Sam nodded. They walked back to the car. Behind them, the hunter stayed on his knees, shaking like he had just met his own ghost. And far away, somewhere between worlds, something smiled, because the rider had a human heart, and human hearts could be used. The dream didn't start as a nightmare. That's what made it dangerous. Johnny stood in a place that smelled like oil and dust and old wood. A carnival lot, empty rides, a broken sign swinging in the wind. He knew this place. It wasn't supposed to be here. He heard laughter, soft, familiar. He turned and saw her, Roxanne. She stood under a streetlight that shouldn't have worked, wearing a jacket he remembered. Her face was warm, real, too real. His chest tightened so hard it hurt. "Johnny," she said. He took a step forward, then stopped, because he knew better. The spirit inside him pressed, uneasy, warning him without words. Roxanne smiled like she always did when she wanted him to calm down. "You're tired," she said. "You don't have to do this forever." Johnny's voice came out rough. "You're not here." Her smile didn't change. "But I could be." The air shifted. A second presence slipped into the space, quiet and smooth, like a knife sliding into a pocket. A man appeared near the edge of the light. Clean suit, calm posture, eyes too bright. He looked like someone who enjoyed being right. "Hello, Johnny," the man said. Like they had met before. Johnny's jaw tightened. "Who are you?" The man spread his hands. "A friend," he said. "A liberator." Johnny's laugh was low and bitter. "I've heard that before." The man's smile widened. "In your world, your curse came from a devil in a suit. In this world, devils wear different faces, but the rules are the same." Johnny's eyes narrowed. "Get out of my head." The man stepped closer, slow, careful, like he was approaching a wild animal. "I'm not in your head," he said. "I'm in the space between, in the cracks, the same cracks that brought you here." Johnny's hands clenched. The chain at his side rattled softly, even in the dream. The man looked at Roxanne. "You want her back," he said simply. "You want to be free. You want to stop burning." Johnny's voice turned hard. "I want to stop evil." The man nodded, like that was adorable. "And you can," he said, "with help." Johnny stared at him, feeling the trap. "What kind of help?" The man's eyes gleamed. "The kind that cuts your chains," he said. "The kind that lets you choose your own fire." Johnny's throat tightened. "There's always a cost." The man smiled. "Of course," he said, "but you're already paying it." Johnny took one step forward, anger rising. Flames flickered under his skin. Roxanne's face softened. "Johnny," she pleaded, "please, just listen." Johnny's eyes hurt. Not from fire, from hope. He hated hope when it wore someone else's face. He looked at her and forced the words out. "If you were real," he said, voice cracking, "you wouldn't ask me to quit." Roxanne froze. The smile wavered. The man's expression sharpened for half a second, then smoothed again. "Clever," he said. Johnny's voice dropped. "I don't make deals anymore." The man sighed like he was disappointed. "Then you will keep suffering," he said, "and the people you could save will keep dying." Johnny's eyes burned brighter. "Don't pretend you care." The man stepped into the light, and for a moment, the world behind him looked like a deep pit with endless dark. "Care?" the man echoed, amused. "No, I care about winning." Johnny's grip tightened on the chain. The dream started to shake. The carnival lights flickered and went out one by one. The man's smile widened. "When you're ready to trade," he said softly, "I'll be there." Johnny lunged. Hellfire exploded from him, ripping through the dream like a storm. The carnival burned away. Roxanne's face vanished into ash. The man's laugh faded into the dark. Johnny woke up on the side of an empty road, sitting on his bike, hands clenched tight enough to crack metal. His skull was not out. He was human, but his eyes were wet. He stared at the dark ahead. Someone had reached for him through the cracks. Someone powerful. Someone patient. Johnny's voice came out like a vow. "No," he whispered. The spirit inside him stirred, hungry for the next guilty thing to burn. Johnny lifted his head. He could feel the crossroads again. He could feel the deal network like a web stretched across the land. And now he knew what he had to do. If the cracks were the problem, he would burn the cracks shut. Not with rage, with purpose. He started the bike. The engine growled low, like a threat, and he rode. Sam noticed the pattern first. He always did. They were back in the bunker 2 days later, surrounded by reports. Bobby had sent over hunter chatter. Castiel had gathered what he could from angel senses. Sam had maps spread out like they were trying to solve a war. Dean sat with a beer he wasn't drinking, staring at a wall like it had answers. Sam pointed at the map. "Here," he said. "Demon deaths. Then here. Then here." Dean leaned over. "That's a straight line." Sam nodded. "A path. He's not wandering. He's tracking something." Castiel's eyes narrowed. "The crossroads." Sam looked up at him. "Yes. Each one is near an old crossroads site. Places with deal history." Dean muttered. "So he's going after the source." Sam's voice was tight with urgency. If he burns the network, that could free souls. It could also break things. Dean pointed at Sam. "That's what I'm saying." Sam met his eyes. "And if Crowley gets there first, he'll weaponize it." Dean's jaw clenched. "Also what I'm saying." Castiel spoke quietly. "If Heaven believes the deal system is destabilizing, they may intervene." Dean threw up a hand. "So everybody's coming. Great." Sam looked at the name on his notes again. Johnny Blaze. He whispered. Like saying it enough times might make it easier to talk to him like a person. Dean rubbed his face. "How do we find him?" Sam tapped the map again. "We don't chase him," he said. "We go where he's going." Dean's eyes narrowed. "Next stop is..." Sam pointed. "A crossroads outside a town called Redfield." Dean stood up. "Then we go." Castiel nodded. "I will accompany you." Dean glanced at him. "And you will try not to get thrown into a guardrail this time." Castiel blinked. "I will attempt that." Dean started toward the garage. "Let's move." As they went, Dean grabbed a fresh pack of fake badges and stuffed them into his jacket. He muttered, "If the bike burns my IDs again, I'm going to lose it." Sam glanced at him. "The bike doesn't burn your IDs." Dean shot him a look. "Not yet." Redfield was quiet. Too quiet. The crossroads sat outside town, where two old roads met, cracked and forgotten. There was a dead tree nearby with ribbons tied to it. Old superstition. Old hope. Dean parked the Impala at a distance. "If you see a flaming skull, do not run toward it." Sam got out anyway. "We're here to talk." Dean followed, grumbling. Castiel appeared beside them like he stepped out of the air. Dean didn't even flinch anymore. They walked toward the center of the crossroads. The air felt thin, like a stretched sheet about to tear. Sam took a breath. "He's been here." Dean pointed at the ground. A burned mark, fresh. A circle with a slash-like symbol. Sam's heart thumped. "That's him." A sound came from behind them. Not an engine. Footsteps. Dean spun, gun half raised. A man stood near the tree line, hands at his sides. Leather jacket. Dark hair. Calm eyes that looked older than his face. Sam's chest tightened. "Johnny?" The man's eyes flicked to Sam. "You said a name," he said, voice rough. Sam swallowed. "We found a file, a clipping. Stunt rider, fires. The name matched." The man stared at him like he was deciding whether Sam was a threat or a nuisance. Dean stepped forward, gun lowered but ready. "We're not here to arrest you." The man's mouth twitched. "That's good," he said. "You can't." Dean didn't argue. He hated that he couldn't. Sam lifted his hand slightly, open. "We think you're hunting the deal network." The man's eyes narrowed. "Deals," he said. "Yeah." Dean's voice turned sharp. "If you burn it down, people die. The system might be evil, but it's tied to a lot of things." The man's gaze hardened. "People die because of it every day," he said. Sam stepped in, careful. "We agree, but we need to do it smart." The man stared at Sam for a long moment. Then he spoke like a decision. "You want smart," he said. "Follow. Don't get in the way." Dean's eyebrows shot up. "That's your plan? Follow me and try not to die?" The man looked at Dean. "Yes." Dean opened his mouth, ready with a sarcastic line. Then the man's eyes shifted, not to Dean's face, but through him, like he could see the weight Dean carried. Dean's voice died in his throat. The man turned away and walked toward the road. Sam called after him. "Wait, how do we—" A low rumble rose in the air. The bike rolled out of the trees like it had been waiting there all along. metal dark as midnight, parts glowing faintly like embers. Dean stared. Okay, that thing is not street legal. The man swung a leg over it. Stay close, he said. Dean laughed once, bitter. On a car? Against that? The man looked back at Dean, and for the first time there was a hint of humor in his eyes. Just a hint. Try, he said. Then the engine roared, and he shot down the road like a bullet. Dean ran back to the Impala and slid in. Okay, he snapped, starting the car. Fine, we're doing this. Sam got in, gripping the dashboard. Dean, don't. Dean gunned it. Shut up. Castiel appeared in the back seat again. You will not keep pace. Dean glared in the rearview mirror. Watch me. They chased. For about 30 seconds, they almost did. Then the bike moved like the road belonged to it. It didn't weave around cars. There were no cars, it just went. And when it hit a curve, it didn't slow the way it should. It held. Like gravity was a suggestion. Dean's knuckles went white on the wheel. This is ridiculous. Sam clung to his seat. Just don't crash. Dean hissed. I'm not. The bike vanished over a hill in a wash of heat. Dean slammed a hand on the steering wheel. He's gone. Sam pointed. No, look. Up ahead, the bike was waiting on the shoulder like it never moved at all. The man sat on it, calm, watching them catch up. Dean pulled up hard and rolled down the window. What was that? The man shrugged. I said try. Dean stared. You're enjoying this. The man's mouth twitched. No, he lied. Sam leaned out the window. Where are we going? The man looked toward the horizon. To the hub, he said. Dean's stomach tightened. The what? The place where deals get filed, the man said. Where demons keep their paper. Sam's eyes widened. A contract vault. The man looked at Sam like Sam finally said something useful. Yeah, he said. That. Dean muttered. Of course demons have paperwork. The man started the bike again. Don't fall behind, he said. Dean gripped the wheel. I hate him, he muttered. Sam didn't answer, but his eyes said something else. He's right. They reached the place just before dawn. An abandoned church sat on a hill outside a town that barely existed. The windows were broken. The doors hung crooked. The cemetery behind it leaned like it had given up. Dean parked and got out with his gun. This is a horror movie starter pack. Sam walked up the steps, eyes scanning symbols carved into the wood. It's a crossroads demon site, he whispered. Castiel's face tightened. There is residue of hell. The man in the leather jacket walked past them and placed his gloved hand on the church door. The air warmed. The wood blackened under his palm, not burning away, but changing. A seam appeared, like a door inside the door. Sam's breath caught. It's a threshold, Dean whispered, and we're about to walk through it. The man looked back at them, expression hard. Stay close, he said again. If you get separated, you die. Dean bristled. We're not amateurs. The man's eyes flicked to Dean. Then act like it. Dean's mouth opened. Sam grabbed Dean's sleeve. Dean, not now. Dean swallowed the comeback. They stepped through. The world changed. It wasn't hell, not fully. It was like a room built next to hell, sharing a wall. The air was hot and dry. The light was red, but not from fire, from something like stained glass that had never been clean. Rows of shelves stretched into the distance. On the shelves were books and scrolls and jars. Labels written in languages Sam didn't want to recognize. Chains hung from the ceiling like decoration. Dean's skin crawled. Okay, he whispered. This is worse than the bar. Sam stared, stunned. These are contracts, he said. Every deal, every soul sold. The man's jaw tightened. Yeah, he said. This is the web. Castiel stepped forward, eyes narrowing. This place should not exist. Dean snorted. None of this should exist. A sound echoed down the rows. Footsteps. Many. Dean lifted his gun. Shapes moved between shelves. Demons. Not the sloppy, loud kind. These moved like soldiers. Their eyes glowed. Their blades were drawn. Their faces were calm, like they knew they had home field advantage. A demon in front spoke, voice smooth. Well, it said, smiling. Look what crawled in. Dean recognized that tone. Corporate evil. The demon's gaze moved to the man in the jacket. and the star of the show. The man's eyes darkened. "Move," he said. The demon laughed. "Oh, we can't," it said. "This is private property, owned by the king," Dean muttered. "Crowley." The demon smiled wider. "That's right. So here's what happens. You leave. The Winchesters go home. And you," it pointed at the man, "come with us for a chat." Sam stepped forward. "He's not your prisoner." The demon's eyes flicked to Sam. "Oh, sweetheart," it purred. "Everything is a prisoner. Even you. You just don't know the cage yet." The man in the jacket took one step forward. His skin rippled. Heat rose. Dean felt the air tighten like the room held its breath. The skull came out. Flames erupted, bright and clean. The demons flinched. Even the confident one took half a step back. Dean's heart thudded. No matter how many times he saw it, it still hit like a punch. The rider's chain snapped into his hand. He swung it once, and the sound cracked through the archive like thunder. The demons moved. Blades flashed. The rider moved faster. The chain whipped out, wrapping one demon's wrist, yanking the blade away, and slamming the demon into a shelf so hard the wood exploded. Papers and scrolls flew into the air. Dean fired, covering Sam as two demons rushed them. The bullets slowed for a split second near the rider's flames, then kept going. They hit demons and sent them back, not killing them, but buying space. Sam grabbed a demon with a devil's trap charm and shoved it onto the floor, trapping it for a second. Sam's hands shook, but his eyes stayed locked. Castiel flared with angel light and shoved a demon across 2 rows with a wave of his hand. Then a new presence entered the space. The air shifted. Cold slid into the red heat like oil in water. A figure appeared on a higher shelf walkway, watching. An angel, not Castiel. This angel's posture was stiff. His eyes glowed faintly with authority, not compassion. He looked down at them like they were insects in a jar. "Stop," the angel said. The word hit the room like a rule being enforced. Demons paused. Even Dean felt his muscles tighten like they wanted to obey. The rider did not pause. The rider turned his flaming skull toward the angel. The angel's eyes narrowed. "You are an aberration," he said. Dean's head snapped. "Oh, great, Heaven's here too." Sam's voice was strained. "CA's." Castiel's face went hard. "I know him," Castiel said quietly. "He serves a faction that believes control is purity." The angel's gaze flicked to Castiel. "Traitor," he said simply. Castiel's jaw clenched, but he did not look away. "You do not understand what you are meddling with." The angel's attention returned to the rider. "You will be contained," he said. The rider's flames brightened. He took one step forward. The angel lifted a hand, preparing to smite. The rider's chain snapped upward and wrapped around the angel's wrist before the smite could land. The angel's eyes widened in real shock. Dean felt his stomach flip. Angels didn't get grabbed like that. The rider yanked. The angel slammed down from the walkway onto the ground with a crack that shook shelves. The demon scattered back, afraid to be near that collision. The angel tried to rise, wings flickering in invisible light. The rider leaned over him, flames roaring. The angel's voice went tight. "Release me." The rider did not speak. He tightened the chain, not to kill, to pin, to force the angel to feel something he wasn't used to. Limits. Dean stared. Breath caught. Sam whispered, "He can restrain an angel." Castiel's expression was grim. "His chain is not normal metal," Castiel said. "It is bound to judgment." The demon leader hissed, angry now. "Enough!" It snapped its fingers. A line of black fire raced along the floor, not touching the rider, but shooting toward Sam and Dean like a trap. Dean shoved Sam back. The fire slammed into a shelf behind them and exploded into burning contract pages. Sam's eyes widened in horror. "Those are souls!" The rider's skull snapped toward the flames. His fire shifted, pulling the burning pages toward him like a magnet. The hellfire ate the black fire, not the paper. Dean saw it clearly now. The rider could choose what to burn. He was not just a bomb. He was a surgeon with a flamethrower. The demon leader barked, "Take the books! Move them!" Demons grabbed scrolls and jars, trying to run deeper into the archive. Sam took off after them. "No!" Dean ran with Sam, shooting at demon legs, trying to slow them without hitting anything that looked like a soul jar. Castiel followed, eyes glowing, pushing demons back with blasts of force. The rider stalked forward, dragging his chain. Every step felt like a verdict. Then Sam stopped short. He had reached a shelf with a contract laid open on a lectern like a display piece. The page was new. Fresh ink. Fresh blood. Sam read the name. He swallowed hard. A woman. A mother. A deal made 2 days ago. The terms were simple. Save my child. Take my soul. Sam's chest tightened. He thought of the girl on the bridge. The scared faces in the cars. He turned and saw the demon leader grinning, watching Sam's reaction. "Ah," the demon purred. "You found a favorite." Sam's voice shook. "You used her." The demon shrugged. "She used me. That's how it works." The rider stepped up behind Sam. Heat rolled over Sam's shoulders. Sam didn't move. He just held the contract with shaking hands. "She's not evil," Sam said quickly, like he had to say it before the spirit decided. "She's desperate." The rider stared at the paper. Dean stepped closer, voice low. "Easy," he said to the rider, like the rider was a wild animal. "She's human." The rider's skull tilted. The flames in his eyes flared, then steadied. Sam took a breath. "You can burn the demon's claim," Sam said, fast. "Break the contract without burning her." The demon leader laughed. "That's adorable. Contracts don't break." Castiel's voice was hard. "Some do." The demon leader's grin widened. "Not these." The rider's flames brightened again. Sam's heart pounded. He could feel the moment tipping. If the rider decided deal equals guilt, that mother might burn just for trying to save her kid. Sam couldn't let that happen. He stepped in front of the contract, blocking it with his body. "Please," he said, and he hated the word, but he used it anyway. "Don't punish her for loving her child." The rider's skull turned toward Sam. The fire inside his eyes crackled like it was thinking. Dean held his breath. Castiel watched, tense. The demon leader leaned in, enjoying the pressure. "Go on," it whispered. "Be justice." The rider's chain snapped out. It wrapped the demon leader's throat and yanked him forward, hard. The demon gagged, eyes wide. The rider lifted his flaming hand and pressed it to the demon's chest. The demon screamed, but the fire did not spread outward. It went inward. It burned the demon's mark off the contract like a brand being erased. The ink that belonged to hell turned to ash. The paper did not burn. Sam stared, shocked. "You!" The rider pulled his hand away. The contract page was still there, but the binding line, the part that claimed the soul, was gone. The demon leader's face twisted in panic. "No!" it choked. "You can't!" The rider tightened the chain. The demon leader's eyes rolled back as the rider's judgment hit like a diamante wave. Dean didn't see a flash or a magic spell. He saw the demon break, like a liar who finally heard the truth. The rider released him. The demon collapsed, coughing, terrified. Then the rider lifted his head toward the shelves filled with contracts. He wasn't looking at paper now. He was looking at the system. Sam saw it in the way the rider stood. The spirit was hungry, but the man inside had made a choice, not to burn the desperate, to burn the machine that fed on them. Dean's stomach tightened. Sam?" Sam's eyes widened as he felt the shift, too. "He's going to burn the archive." Castiel stepped forward. "If you destroy this place, the structure of deals will collapse," Castiel warned. "The consequences." The rider turned toward Castiel. For a second, the flames dimmed, and the human voice came out from somewhere deep under the fire. "Good," the rider said. Then the skull's flames flared again, and the archive shook. The fire moved like it had rules. It did not leap to random pages. It ran along the shelves where demons had marked contracts with blood and control. It avoided the jars that held trapped souls, as if it recognized them as victims, not fuel. Dean watched, stunned, as the rider walked down an aisle and dragged his chain across the floor. Where the chain touched, a thin line of hellfire followed, slicing through the demon bindings like a knife through tape. Demons screamed and ran, grabbing what they could. Castiel grabbed Sam and pulled him back as a shelf collapsed. contracts raining down like dead leaves. Sam's heart hammered. We have to get the souls out. Dean grabbed a jar that was rolling on the floor, cradling it like it was a bomb. How do we even? The demon leader, still coughing, scrambled to his feet and hissed, "You can't take them. They're mine." Dean shoved the jar into Sam's arms. "Not today." The demon lunged. Dean slammed it with the butt of his gun. The demon fell back, snarling. Castiel's eyes flashed. He smote the demon leader, not killing it, but blasting it into a shelf so hard it stopped moving for a moment. Then the angel on the floor, still bound by the rider's chain, finally ripped free with a burst of grace. He stumbled back, furious. "This is blasphemy," he spat. The rider turned his skull toward him. The angel lifted a hand to strike. The rider's flames rose like a wall. The angel hesitated, not from fear of pain, from fear of losing. Dean saw it and almost laughed. Bitter. Guess even heaven has survival instincts. Sam grabbed Dean's sleeve. "Dean, the door!" The entrance seam in the church door flickered like it couldn't handle the stress. The threshold was unstable. If it closed while they were inside, they'd be trapped in a contract vault between hell and reality. Dean's mouth went dry. "We need to go. Now!" Sam looked at the jars in his arms, desperate. "But these..." Castiel's voice was tight. "Take what you can carry." Dean grabbed 2 more jars and stuffed them into a duffel bag he didn't remember bringing, but was very glad he had. The rider stood in the center aisle, flames roaring, chain dragging, fire cutting through demon ownership like it was peeling paint off a wall. For a second, Dean wondered if the rider even knew they were leaving. Sam stepped toward him. "Johnny!" Sam shouted over the crackle. The rider's skull turned. Sam held up the mother's contract page. "You did that," Sam said. "You spared her." The rider stared at the paper. Sam's voice shook with urgency. "If you stay, the threshold collapses. You'll be trapped." The rider didn't move. Dean snapped, "Skullface, move!" The rider's flames flared at Dean's tone, like the spirit didn't like being ordered. Dean swallowed the instinct to keep pushing. Sam tried again. "Softer, please," he said. "Not because we want to control you, because we don't want you buried in a demon vault." The rider paused. That same tiny pause as the bridge. Then he moved. He walked toward them, steps heavy, fire controlled. Behind him, the archive was falling apart, shelves collapsing, demon-marked contracts turning to ash. The system screaming without a mouth. The angel faction leader tried to block the rider's path, lifting a hand again. The rider's chain snapped out, wrapped the angel's ankle, and yanked him aside like he was clearing a chair from a hallway. The angel crashed into a pillar. Stunned, Castiel stared. Grim. He treats angels like obstacles. Dean muttered, "Mood." They sprinted for the door seam. The rider followed, flames dimming slightly as he reached the threshold, like he was compressing a storm into a smaller space. Dean crossed first, then Sam with the jars, then Castiel. The rider stepped through last. The seam snapped shut behind him like a wound sealing. They were back in the abandoned church. For a second, the place was quiet. Then a deep crack sounded behind the door. Heat surged through the wood. The church windows rattled. Dean backed up. The door exploded outward in a blast of hot air and black ash. But no fire followed into the church. Whatever the rider burned stayed on the other side. The ash swirled in the air like dirty snow and settled on the old pews. Sam coughed, clutching the jars. Dean stared at the door frame, chest rising and falling fast. "Okay," he said, voice rough. "That was insane." Castiel looked at the ash, then at the rider. "You destabilized Hell's contract system," he said. The rider's skull turned toward Castiel. Castiel held his ground. "There will be consequences." The rider's human voice came again, low and blunt. "Good." Dean stared at him. "You just declared war on Hell." The rider's flames flickered like laughter without humor. Sam stepped forward, carefully setting the jars down on a pew. "We can free these," Sam said. "We can help the souls." The rider stared at the jars, then back at Sam. His skull tilted, like he was weighing Sam's intent. Dean watched that moment closely. Sam wasn't afraid of the fire right now. He was afraid of what the fire might become. And Dean Dean was afraid of what it might see in him. Outside, far away, Crowley felt the hit like a punch. In hell, demons screamed about lost contracts, lost leverage, lost control. Crowley's face went still. Then he smiled, slow and dangerous. "Oh," he murmured, "so you want to play." And somewhere higher, in a clean place that pretended it was pure, heaven's watchers turned their eyes toward the cracked crossroads on earth. A foreign judge was rewriting rules. That could not be allowed. Back inside the church, the rider's flames dimmed, and his skull softened into human skin again. Johnny Blaze stood there, breathing like a man who had been carrying a weight too long. Sam looked at him, finally seeing the person clearly. "Johnny," Sam said. Johnny's eyes were tired. "Don't use my name like it makes me safe," he said. Dean crossed his arms. "Fair." Sam swallowed. "Then tell us what you want." Johnny looked down at his hands, at the faint heat rising from his skin. "I want the cracks closed," he said. "I want the deals to stop feeding monsters." Dean's voice was rough. "And what if it breaks the world?" Johnny met Dean's eyes. There was no smile. "Then the world should have stopped making deals," Johnny said. Dean held his gaze, jaw tight. Sam looked between them and felt the truth settle in. This wasn't just a new ally. This was a new force. And now everyone, hunters, demons, angels, was going to treat him like the center of the map. Outside the church, the first rays of sunrise hit the cracked gravestones. The day looked normal, but it wasn't. Not anymore. 2 weeks later, the bunker felt smaller. Not because the halls changed. Not because the lights got dimmer. It felt smaller because the world outside was louder. Dean sat at the table with a stack of fake IDs in front of him. He flipped one over, then another, like he was doing math he hated. Sam walked in with a folder of notes and a tired face. "You're really doing inventory?" Dean didn't look up. "Last night, a deputy in Kansas asked why my badge smelled like smoke." Sam blinked. "How would he—" Dean finally looked at him. Because there were burn marks on his road. Again. And there were 2 demons reduced to ash in a cornfield. Again. And there was a witness. Again. Sam set the folder down. "At least nobody died." Dean's mouth tightened. "Nobody innocent died." Sam paused. He didn't argue. He couldn't. Across the room, Johnny Blaze stood near the bunker's map wall. He didn't sit. He didn't lean. He looked like a man waiting for the next bad sound. He was in human form right now. Leather jacket, gloves, eyes that were too tired for his age. Castiel stood a few feet away, watching him like a guard who didn't want to be a guard. Dean cleared his throat. "So, what's today's plan, Johnny?" Johnny didn't look at him. "Same as yesterday," he said. "Find the deal brokers. Burn their chains." Dean's jaw flexed at the word burn. "You know we still have to live here, right?" Johnny's eyes flicked towards Dean. "Then stop making deals," he said. Dean stared back. "Yeah, we'll just tell the world to stop being desperate." Sam stepped between the edge of that argument before it got sharp. "We freed 5 jars," he said quickly. "The ones from the vault. Bobby helped. Rowena." He stopped himself and glanced at Dean. Dean grunted. "Yeah, the witch helped. Don't act surprised." Sam continued. "The souls went on. They didn't get stuck. So whatever you burned, it didn't break that part." Johnny's face didn't soften, but something in his shoulders loosened by a hair. "Good," he said. Dean tapped the fake IDs again. "Still burning my life, though." Johnny looked at the IDs like they were strange objects. "You lie for a living," he said. Dean bristled. "I save people for a living." Johnny held his gaze. "Then we're on the same side," he said. "Stop complaining." Dean opened his mouth. Then he shut it. It annoyed him that Johnny was not wrong. Sam took a breath. "We've been tracking the pattern," he said. He pointed at the map. "Demon deaths. Deal sites." Then silence. Johnny's eyes moved to the map, slow and careful. "There's a hub," he said. Dean frowned. "We already burned a hub." Johnny shook his head once. "That was a vault," he said. "Paper. Storage. The web is bigger." Castiel spoke, calm but tense. "Crowley would rebuild." Johnny's jaw tightened. "Then I will burn it again." Sam's eyes flashed. Not if civilians are there. Johnny looked at Sam. I did not burn civilians, he said. Sam held his gaze, steady. You stopped the stolen fire on the bridge, Sam said. You chose. That matters. Johnny's eyes went distant for a moment, like he remembered a line of cars and scared faces. Then he looked back at Sam, and his voice came out flat. It was not clean, he said, but I made it clean. Dean heard something under the words. Johnny was not bragging. He was warning them that the next time might be harder. Dean's phone buzzed. He looked down. A text from a hunter contact. Crossroads party. Redfield outskirts. People lined up. Too many. Dean's blood chilled. Sam. Sam was already reading over Dean's shoulder. That's a bait. Johnny's head lifted. Where? Dean named the location. Castiel's face went hard. This is Crowley. Sam swallowed. He's staging a mass deal. Dean stood fast. And if Johnny shows up, it's a bloodbath. Johnny's eyes narrowed. I'm going, he said. Dean stepped in front of him. Not alone. Johnny stared at him like Dean was being stubborn for fun. You will slow me down. Dean didn't blink. That's fine. Sam grabbed his duffel. We go together. We keep people out of the line of fire. Johnny's hands flexed at his sides. The chain made a faint sound, like metal remembering it had teeth. Stay behind me, Johnny said. Dean snorted. Sure. Great plan. Johnny looked at him. I'm not joking. Dean's smile died. He nodded once. They moved. Crowley watched the crossroads from a nearby hill, hidden behind a glamour that made him look like a bored man in a baseball cap. He hated dirt roads. He hated mosquitoes. He hated the smell of humans at night. But he loved leverage. Down below, people stood in a loose line near a dead tree. Someone had placed candles on the ground. Someone had drawn a rough circle in the dirt. Crowley's demon helpers worked fast and quiet. They whispered promises into ears. They offered cures, money, love, revenge. The usual. Crowley didn't care about these humans. Not really. They were bait with heartbeats. What he cared about was the trap. A deal hub wasn't just paperwork. It was a place where hell could pull on the world like a rope. Crowley had built a new one. Small and mobile, hidden under a thin pocket of space. Not a vault. A knot. If the rider came and tried to burn it, the knot would tighten and hold him. Crowley smiled to himself. Let's see how divine your judgment is, he murmured. Behind him, a figure stepped out of the darkness. Not a demon, an angel. His face was calm. His eyes were cold. His blade hung at his side like a threat waiting for a reason. Crowley glanced at him with mild disgust. You're late. The angel didn't react. You promised containment, he said. Crowley lifted his hands. And you promised grace, he said. For the cuffs. For the cage. The angel's eyes narrowed. This alliance is temporary. Crowley smirked. All alliances are temporary. The angel looked toward the crossroads line. The anomaly is coming. Crowley's smile widened. Good, he said. Then we end this problem. He didn't say capture. He didn't say control. But that was the goal. Control the hammer. Or get crushed by it. Johnny felt the bait from miles away. It was loud to his senses, like a siren made of guilt and blood. He rode in human form at first, fast enough to make the wind bite. The bike's engine growled under him like a living warning. Dean followed in the Impala, white-knuckled. Sam held the duffel tight and stared out the window like he was trying to see the future. Castiel stayed in the back seat, silent. When they got close, Johnny slowed and pulled off the road behind a line of trees. Dean parked and jumped out. Okay, he said. Rule 1, we clear the humans. Sam nodded. Rule 2, no one makes a deal. Dean looked at Sam. That rule is for us, genius. Sam didn't smile. Castiel's gaze lifted toward the crossroads. There are angels, he said. Dean swore. Of course there are. Johnny's face went still. They want a cage, he said. Sam stepped closer. Careful. Johnny, listen, he said. Crowley is using people as shields. Johnny's eyes stayed hard. Then we moved the shields. Dean pointed. That's what we're doing. They moved down the slope together, staying in the trees. The line of humans was longer than Dean expected. Teenagers, parents, old men, people with desperate eyes and shaking hands. Sam's stomach twisted. He recognized that look. He had worn it before. A demon stood near the dead tree, smiling like a salesman. He was handing out small black bags. The old trick, Dean whispered. Salt. Sam nodded. He pulled a pouch from his pocket. Dean and Sam started moving along the edges, whispering warnings to the people farthest from the demon first. "Don't do it," Sam said to a woman holding a photo. "Please, it won't end the way you think." The woman's eyes were wet. "My son," she whispered. "He's sick." Dean swallowed and forced his voice steady. "There are other ways," he lied, because sometimes hope was a tool too. "Like what?" she snapped. Dean's throat tightened. He didn't have a good answer. Johnny watched from the trees, jaw clenched. The spirit inside him surged, angry at the line of deals, angry at the weakness being used. Sam reached the front and threw a handful of salt across the ground, cutting the circle. The demon frowned. "Oh," he said, voice fake sad. "Agents, again." Dean stepped out, gun raised. "Party's over." The demon smiled wider. "Is it?" he asked. The ground under the circle pulsed. The air warped like heat off a road. Johnny's eyes narrowed. "The knot," he said. Crowley appeared near the dead tree as if he had been there the whole time, sipping from a glass like it was a dinner party. "Hello, boys," Crowley called. "And hello to our guest." Dean's face went cold. "Crowley." Crowley's eyes gleamed as they landed on Johnny. "Johnny Blaze," he said smoothly. Sam's breath caught. "He knows your name." Johnny's stare didn't flinch. Crowley took a slow sip. "You have been very rude," Crowley said. "Burning my assets, burning my contracts, burning my employees." Dean barked. "Your employees are demons." Crowley waved a hand. "Semantics," he said. Then he looked at Johnny again. "You and I should talk properly." Johnny's voice was low. "Move the humans," he said. Crowley smiled. "Oh, I will," he said, "after you agree to my offer." Dean's stomach dropped. "Offer?" Crowley spread his hands like he was generous. "I will make you judge of hell," he said. "My executioner. My cleanup crew. You want to punish evil? Let me show you the biggest pit of it." Sam stepped forward, sharp. "He's not your weapon." Crowley's eyes slid to Sam. "Everything is a weapon," he said. "You, of all people, should know that." Johnny didn't look at Sam. He didn't look at Dean. He looked at the line of people. The woman with the photo was still there. Her hands were shaking. Johnny's jaw tightened. "No," Johnny said to Crowley. Crowley's smile didn't move. "No?" he repeated, like he was surprised. Johnny's voice stayed flat. "I don't work for kings." Crowley's eyes cooled. "Pity," he said. He snapped his fingers. The circle in the dirt ignited, not with normal flame, but with a thin, sharp light that cut into the air like a line being drawn. Angel symbols flared around the crossroads in a wide ring. The air slammed shut. A cage. Castiel's face hardened. "Enochian," he said. The rogue angel stepped forward, blade in hand. His eyes were cold and focused. "Anomaly," he said. "You will be contained." Dean stared. "You teamed up with Crowley?" The angel didn't even look at Dean. "Hell is a problem," he said. "This is a bigger one." Johnny's skin rippled. Flames rose. The skull emerged. People screamed. Some ran. Some fell. The line broke into panic. Dean shoved people away from the circle. "Move! Get back!" Sam grabbed the woman with the photo and pulled her away, shouting, "Run!" The rogue angel raised his hand to smite. Johnny's chain snapped out fast and wrapped the angel's forearm. The angel's smite fired anyway. Light blasted into the ground near Johnny's feet, cracking dirt and throwing rocks. Johnny didn't fall. He stepped through it. Crowley watched like he was at a show. Johnny yanked the chain. The angel flew forward, boots skidding, but he didn't crash. He dug in and held, wings flickering invisible behind him. Strong, not weak, not scared, just controlled. Castiel surged forward, eyes glowing. "Stop," he commanded the rogue angel. "This is wrong." The rogue angel's eyes flicked to Castiel. "You lost your right to command," he said. He swung the blade at the chain. The blade hit. The chain sparked. It didn't break. The angel's eyes widened. Johnny's flames flared higher. He pulled hard. The angel slammed into the dirt and rolled, blade flying out of his grip. Dean stared, breath caught. He just disarmed an angel. Crowley's smile twitched. He didn't like how fast that happened. Crowley snapped again. Demons rose from the ground around the circle, climbing out of black smoke like it was a pool. Dean fired. Sam threw salt. Castiel smote 2 demons into ash with a burst of light. Johnny moved like a storm that chose its targets. He whipped the chain around a demon's throat and yanked it into the air, then slammed it down. He grabbed another demon by the face and set it on hellfire so clean it didn't spread to the grass. But the cage held. The Enochian ring pulsed, pressing against Johnny's flames like it wanted to push him inward. Johnny felt it. The spirit inside him pushed harder. Break it! Johnny reached down and dragged his chain across the glowing line. The chain sizzled. The line flickered but didn't die. Crowley's eyes gleamed. "You see?" he called. "Not invincible. Just loud." Sam's heart hammered. He saw what Crowley was doing. Crowley wasn't trying to beat Johnny in a fistfight. He was trying to bind him with rules. He was trying to turn power into property. Sam shouted, "Dean, the symbols!" Dean looked at him. "What?" Sam pointed at the ring. "They're anchored. We break the anchors. We weaken the cage." Dean's eyes snapped around. He saw 4 small stone markers placed around the circle, each carved with Enochian. He cursed. Of course there are anchors. Dean sprinted for the nearest one, dodging a demon swipe. He slammed his boot into the stone. It cracked. The ring flickered. Johnny felt the pressure ease for half a second. Crowley's smile died. "Stop him!" Crowley barked at his demons. 2 demons rushed Dean. Sam threw a devil's trap charm and slapped it on the ground. The charm flared. One demon hit the invisible line and screamed as it got stuck. The other leapt over it and chased Dean. Castiel flared behind it and smote it back. Dean reached the second anchor and smashed it with the butt of his gun until it split. The ring flickered harder. Johnny dragged his chain across it again. This time, the line cracked like thin glass. The rogue angel crawled to his blade, furious. He lifted it and shouted in Enochian. The air around Johnny tightened like a fist. Johnny's flames surged against the pressure. And then the world shifted for Johnny in a way nobody else could see. For one heartbeat, the crossroads disappeared. He was back in the carnival lot. Roxanne stood there again, eyes soft. "You're tired," she said. A man in a clean suit stood behind her, smiling with bright, cruel eyes. "You can stop," the man said. "Let me cut the chain. Let me give you peace." Johnny's skull didn't vanish in the vision, but his fire dimmed slightly, like his heart was listening. He hated it. He hated that it worked for even a second. He heard Sam yelling in the real world. He heard Dean's gunshots. He heard Castiel's voice. Johnny turned toward the suit man in the vision. "Who are you?" he asked, even though he already knew what the feeling was. The man's smile widened. "A better king," he said. "One who can actually free you." Johnny's voice went low and deadly. "You don't free people," he said. "You trade them." The suit man chuckled. "And you burn them." Johnny stepped forward. Hellfire surged. The vision cracked. The carnival burned away. Roxanne's face faded like smoke. The suit man's smile stayed as he vanished. "When you want your heart back," the voice whispered, "call me." Johnny snapped back into the crossroads. The rogue angel's grip tightened on the air again, trying to crush him with rule and grace. Johnny roared, not like a man, not like a monster, but like judgment given a voice. His flames exploded outward in a tight ring, not touching the people, not touching the trees, but slamming into the Enochian line. Dean smashed the third anchor. The ring shattered. The cage broke with a sound like thunder. Crowley's eyes widened in real anger. "No!" Johnny moved. In 2 steps, he crossed the space between them. Crowley tried to smoke out. Johnny's chain snapped around Crowley's waist and yanked him back into solid form like he was a toy. Crowley's face twisted. Now, he said quickly. "Let's not be dramatic." Dean shouted, "Do it! End him!" Sam shouted, "Dean!" Sam's voice was sharp, because Sam knew what Dean was asking. If Johnny judged Crowley, it might be permanent. And if Crowley disappeared, hell would not become nicer. It would become chaos. A worse demon might take the throne. More people could die. Johnny's skull tilted toward Dean. The flames in his eyes flared. For a second, Dean felt that stare again, like a hand reaching into his chest. Dean swallowed hard. Sam stepped forward, voice shaking but firm. "Johnny," he said, "Crowley is guilty, no question. But if you burn him right now, hell explodes. People pay for it." Crowley glared at Sam. "I cannot believe I'm agreeing with the moose." Johnny's chain tightened. Crowley choked. The rogue angel stumbled to his feet, blade raised again. "Kill them!" he spat, eyes wild now. "Kill the humans! Take the anomaly!" Castiel stepped in front of the angel, furious. "You will not," he said. The rogue angel swung. Castiel caught the blade with his hand. Light flashed. Castiel's face tightened with pain, but he held. "Enough," Castiel growled. He shoved the angel back with a burst of power. The angel crashed into the dead tree, stunned. Billy appeared, not with a flash, with silence. One moment there was noise and panic and fire. The next moment it was quiet. The world held its breath. Everyone froze except her. Billy stood near the broken circle, calm and serious. Coat neat, eyes flat. Dean's throat went dry. "Oh, come on." Sam whispered, "Death." Crowley's face went pale in a way that didn't match his usual confidence. "Oh, brilliant," he rasped. Johnny's skull turned toward Billy. Billy looked at him like she was reading a file. "You don't belong in this system," Billy said. Johnny didn't speak. Billy's eyes flicked to the chain around Crowley, then to the angel, then to the humans who were crouched behind cars and trees. "This is destabilizing," Billy said, simple and final. Dean swallowed. "Yeah, we noticed." Billy ignored Dean. She looked at Johnny again. "You have disrupted contracts," she said. "You have freed souls out of order. You have burned bindings that were part of the balance." Sam stepped forward, careful. "But those bindings were evil." Billy looked at Sam. "Evil is not the same as imbalance," she said. "Your world survives because rules hold, even when the rules are ugly." Dean muttered, "That's a messed up speech." Billy's gaze slid to Dean. "And you break rules every day," she said. "You should understand the cost." Dean shut his mouth. Billy turned back to Johnny. "Here is the truth," she said. "If you keep burning the deal network, you will tear holes that you can't patch. Things from the empty will notice. Souls will slip. Reapers will lose track. Death will become sloppy." Sam's stomach dropped. He remembered times when death had been broken before. It never ended well. Johnny's flames flickered, lower for a moment. Not fear, thought. Billy's voice stayed calm. "You have 3 paths," she said. "Leave this world, submit to containment, or accept limits." Crowley rasped, "Containment sounds lovely." Billy didn't even look at him. Sam looked at Johnny, pleading without saying the word. Dean looked at Johnny too, but his thoughts were harder. If he doesn't accept limits, we might have to stop him. And Dean did not know how to do that. Johnny's skull tilted. Then his fire dimmed, and the human voice came, rough and honest. "I don't submit," Johnny said. The rogue angel hissed, furious, but Billy's presence kept him frozen. Johnny continued. "I don't leave," he said. "Not while this world feeds monsters with deals." Billy stared at him. "Then limits," she said. Johnny's jaw tightened. "I will not burn desperate humans for being desperate," he said. "Not unless they become predators." Sam's breath caught. Relief hit him like a wave. Johnny's voice stayed low. "I will burn the brokers," he said. "The ones who hunt pain, the ones who profit, the ones who trap souls." Crowley's eyes widened. "Now hang on." Johnny's skull turned toward Crowley. Crowley shut up. Johnny looked back at Billy. "And I will guard the cracks," he said. "Crossroads, thin places. I will keep demons from using them to reach other fires." Billy's eyes narrowed slightly. "You will become a warden," she said. Johnny's flames flickered like agreement. Billy glanced at Sam and Dean. "And they will help you identify targets," she said. "Because they live here. They know the difference between a sinner and a monster." Dean swallowed. "We didn't agree to." Billy's gaze pinned him. "You already are," she said. Dean hated that she was right. Billy stepped closer to Johnny. The air around her felt like a rule written into stone. "If you break this," Billy said, "I will respond." Johnny's skull didn't flinch. "Then respond," he said. Billy stared for a long moment. Then time snapped back. Sound crashed in again. Wind moved. People gasped like they were waking up. Crowley coughed, still chained. Johnny looked at him. Crowley forced a smile. "Can we talk about this like adults?" Johnny yanked the chain tight enough to lift Crowley's feet off the ground. Crowley choked, eyes wide. Johnny's voice came through the skullfire, simple and cold. "You touch the cracks again," he said, "and I come for you." Crowley's face turned red. "Understood," he wheezed. Johnny threw him. Crowley slammed into the dirt near the dead tree and rolled, coughing, suit ruined. He scrambled to his feet and glared, furious, but he didn't attack. He wasn't stupid. He vanished in black smoke, retreating. The rogue angel, freed from the trap's failure, grabbed his blade and backed away, eyes burning with hate. "This is not finished," he hissed at Castiel. Castiel's voice was hard. "It never is." The angel vanished in a flash of light. The demons, leaderless and scared, smoked away into the ground. The crossroads clearing finally went quiet. Humans crawled out from hiding, shaking and confused. Dean and Sam moved among them, guiding them away, giving them lies that would help them sleep. Johnny stood in the center of the broken circle, skull still on, flames low but steady. Castiel walked up beside him. "You chose restraint," Castiel said. Johnny's skull turned slightly. "I chose focus," he answered. Dean walked up, face tight. "So what now?" he asked. Johnny's flames dimmed, and the skull softened into his human face again. He looked at Dean like he was tired of arguments, but not done with them. "I ride," Johnny said. "I guard the cracks. I burn the predators." Sam stepped closer. "And if we call you?" Johnny's eyes held Sam's for a beat. "If it matters," he said. "If it's real evil." Dean crossed his arms. "And if you decide it's us?" Johnny looked at him, calm. "Then you'll know," he said. Dean's stomach tightened. Sam's voice softened. "Johnny," he said, "thank you for choosing the way you did." Johnny's face didn't change, but his eyes flicked toward the woman with the photo, now safe and crying on a curb. He gave a small nod. Not to Sam, to the idea that mercy could exist beside judgment. Then he turned toward his bike. Dean watched him go and muttered, "He's going to scorch every road in America." Sam almost smiled. At least he doesn't need gas. Dean glared. "Don't start." Johnny swung onto the bike. The engine growled low. He looked back once, eyes on the Winchesters and Castiel. "Don't make deals," he said. Dean snorted. "Yeah, we'll put it on a bumper sticker." Johnny's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Then he rode off into the dark, leaving a thin trail of heat that faded fast. Behind him, the crossroads stayed quiet. For now. A week later, the bunker felt a little bigger again. Not safer, just less suffocating. Dean sat on the steps at the bunker entrance with a beer in his hand. He still wasn't drinking much of it. He just liked holding it when he thought too hard. Sam came to sit beside him, a notebook in his lap. "You're writing?" Dean asked. Sam nodded. "A log," he said. "Patterns, crossroad sites, deal broker names." Dean glanced sideways. "So we're building a work schedule for a flaming skull biker." Sam's mouth twitched. "Kind of." Dean sighed. "This is my life." Sam looked out at the night. "It's better than it was," he said quietly. Dean's jaw tightened. "Tell that to the deputy in Kansas who thinks I'm a terrorist because the road melted." Sam bumped Dean's shoulder lightly. "Your fake badge survived this time." Dean snorted. "Low bar." They sat in silence for a moment. The air was cold, clean. The stars were out. Sam finally spoke. "Do you think he'll keep his limits?" Dean didn't answer fast. He stared out at the dark road beyond the bunker's hidden entrance. "I think he wants to," Dean said. "I think he hates what he is, but he also believes in it." Sam nodded slowly. "That's what scares me," he admitted. Dean glanced at him. "Yeah," he said. "Me too." Inside the bunker, Castiel stood near the map wall, alone. He stared at the lines Sam had drawn. Thin places, crossroads, clusters of demon deaths. Castiel's face was serious. He could feel heaven's eyes on him. He could feel hell's anger under the ground. He could feel the empty waiting like a patient shadow. This wasn't over. It would never be over. Outside, far away, Crowley stood in his office with shattered glass on the floor. He stared at a burned contract page that had somehow drifted into hell like ash on the wind. His hands shook with rage, then he forced them still. He poured himself a drink and spoke to the empty room. "Ghost Rider," Crowley muttered, tasting the nickname like poison. "Fine. Ride." He smiled, thin and mean, but even fire needs roads. Back at the bunker, the night stayed quiet. Then Dean heard it, a low engine sound, distant at first. Sam's head lifted too. The sound grew closer, then paused, like it was circling, but not coming in. Dean stood up slowly and walked to the edge of the hidden exit, eyes scanning the darkness. At the far end of the road, just where the trees swallowed the light, a black motorcycle sat still for a second. A faint orange glow flickered where a face should be. Not loud, not a show, just a reminder. Dean's chest tightened. He didn't wave, he didn't shout, he just watched. The bike turned and rolled away, silent again. Sam came up beside Dean. "He's guarding," Sam whispered. Dean nodded once. "Yeah," he said, "like a grim traffic cop for hell." Sam almost laughed. "That's actually accurate." Dean stared down the road until the last hint of heat faded. Then he looked at Sam and said, "No deals." Sam nodded. "No deals." Dean glanced back at the bunker entrance, then out at the dark world. Life would go on. Monsters would still hunt. People would still get desperate. But now, at some crossroads, the line would stay empty. Not because the world became good, because something out there made a new rule with fire. And for once, that rule was simple. If you prey on the weak, you get judged.